Hey guys, Harv here, and welcome back to the Kerbal space program. This is our mission to every planet and back in one mission. Yes, one singular mission in which we're going to visit every single planet, drop off a payload there, and return back to Kerbin. But it's probably not going to be Moho to Eve to Kerbin to Juna. It's probably going to be Moho, Kerbin, Eve, Kerbin, Juna, Kerbin, you know, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, so we can use the same craft and therefore have the same mission, but we can refuel it in Kerbin orbit. That is the plan. That is the way we're going to make everything work. And in the previous episode, we got quite a large amount of stuff done, considering we started up the series. That was a big thing. And we also designed our pusher stage, our stage that is going to be the persistent one, the one that will rule them all and in the darkness bind them, as well as taking them out to each planet and bringing itself back. And it looks something like as of yet nameless Mark II, or Mark 1. Seeing as this includes the launch stage, it looks like this. Yeah, very simple. And that's good, because that means our mass is fairly low. And yes, in the first episode, which was the last episode, we were using quite a lot of rocket equations. We were using one rocket equation, quite a lot. And we're basically doing that in order to find out how far this stage can go, as well as our payload stage. Did we even save that? Did we save the payload? Untitled spacecraft. Is this saved? No. We didn't save the payload. Okay. So we're going to have to build that payload again. Or is it auto-saved 87 parts? No? Is this just going to be... This is just going to be another one of these, isn't it? Oh, look. Okay. So we didn't quite save the payload, I don't think. Unless it's on top of here. No, it's not. Right, we'll have to build that payload again. We'll have to do the calculations for it again. But we built a payload to land a Kerbin on Moho, because that's where we're going to go first, seeing as it's the innermost planet, and we probably want to go in some sort of order around all of them. And we were designing that one. In fact, let's build it on top of our actual thing. Can we not? We should design it by itself. So let's make a new one. Get rid of all this. We'll call it Mark III. It's not really Mark III, it's just Part 3. It's not different iterations of the same thing, it's new stages. But it looked something like what I'm about to build. So we had a tank, we had 2 radial engines on the side, 2 of these little small radial engines, about here, and then we had 3 landing legs. Minimum number, just so we don't take up too much mass. And we had them like here. And we got problems. We had problems with connecting them. The damn things. There we go. Okay. Right, that should work perfectly fine now. So yes, that was our payload. Again, extremely simple. To be as simple as possible is the aim, so that we have as few parts as possible, meaning as little mass as possible. Now, we have this, and this thing here has a delta V, which is how much it can change its velocity by, effectively how far it can go once you apply it to a context. How far it can go is 8,000, no, sorry, not this one. This is 2,914.6 meters per second of delta V with these 2 engines. Now, I was wondering whether 2 engines would be sufficient to lift it on Moho, because Moho, I've never been there on a legit landing. I'm not really used to it. This is going to be a first timer for me, and it's got to be a first time correct as well, otherwise we're going to not do particularly well in our mission to come. So I don't know whether these 2 engines are strong enough to lift this entire full thing down onto the surface of Moho. Of course it'll be a little bit empty, this tank will, so it'll be a bit lighter, but still, same thing applies. So that's what we're going to do first. We have our thrusters here have a thrust of, where are they? Engine max power 20. Now I presume that's 20 newtons. That better be 20 newtons. I think. I'm gonna say that's 20 newtons. I'm gonna hope, because if I'm wrong, this may throw things out slightly. How do we find out whether it's got enough thrust to lift a certain thing? Well, there's another formula, and that's F equals ma, force equals mass times acceleration. Now, the acceleration due to gravity at the surface of Moho is, according to KSB Wiki, is 2.7 meters per second squared. So, if we were to be able to make a ship that could hover perfectly and counteract that acceleration downwards, it would have to have a thrust upwards of 2.7 meters per second squared. We have 40 newtons of force. Our mass, our total mass, is what we'll find out in a second, and that should be able to give us our acceleration if we just rearrange F equals ma to equal to be acceleration equals force over mass. That's correct, isn't it? Acceleration equals force over mass, yes. So let's try that then. Let's launch. These things are 20 newtons each. We have 2 of them. That makes 40 newtons. Clear the launch pad and proceed. So if our acceleration is equal to our force over our mass, the more mass we have, the lower the acceleration will be. And conversely, the more force we have, the higher the acceleration will be. Okay, let's take a look at our mass. We have a mass of 3.18 tons. This is the same payload. That's exactly the same mass we had last time. 3.18. So force divided by mass, 40 newtons, divided by 3.18 equals 12.57. 12.5 or 12.58 to round it. 12.58 meters per second squared. Our acceleration. Now, if that's the case, if acceleration due to gravity on Kerbin is 10 meters per second, if I haven't done anything wrong, we should be able to lift this. And we can! So I guess newtons are correct. Okay, well 2 engines is plenty to land us on Moho then. Wow, these things are more powerful than I imagined. Okay. But not quite powerful enough to be able to do stunts like that. Still, these are definitely powerful enough to lift us on Moho. So the force is in newtons. Brilliant. Or so I seem to have concluded. Okay. I think that's a perfect design then. I think this is a worthy payload to go on to Kerbin. With its nearly 3,000 meters per second of delta V, by all accounts, that's more than enough to actually land it on Kerbin. I mean, land it on Moho. Or actually, are we putting the docking port on top? Oh, we are, aren't we? Will that change things? Very slightly, yes. It will very slightly. Hang on. Let's work out the meter per second delta V just quickly. Total mass 2.25, so we minus 2 off of our total mass. Minus 2 off of our initial mass to get our final mass, so we can work out its delta V. Let's just launch this to find out its initial mass. Initial mass is now 3.23 tons. Get our rocket equation calculator. Initial mass is 3.23 tons, which makes final mass 1.23 tons. Our efficiency is 300 units of specific impulse. Calculate delta V is 2,838, not 900. So let's append that original calculation we did. 2,838.5 roughly meters per second. That is good. Okay, and that is our payload actual. Okay, right, save that. I'm just keeping a log of all the meters per second, of all the delta V of all our crafts. So is this it? Is this is capable of landing on Moho, if put into an orbit around Moho, I'm fairly sure. And our pusher stage, I think that's capable of taking us from Kerbin orbit to Moho orbit and back, hopefully. So this is it. It may be time to actually start our first mission. Let's save that. We'll load up as of that nameless Mark 1. Rebuild this on top of it. Oh, we need to put a guy in there. Oh, we can do that. Yeah, one of the crew in here can go on the mission down to the surface. and be left behind for a very long time, because we're not bringing them back. Depending on the success of this first Moho mission, we may bring back later pilots, but for the sake of trying to get the mission to work as well as possible in as quick a time as possible, we aren't going to develop a system to bring them back from orbit. I don't know, maybe this thing, with all its nearly 3 kilometers per second of delta V, maybe it can actually return back to orbit. If it can, then that's no problem, because we've got RCS for docking. 2 engines there, and our landing legs there. Nope, need to be turned, don't they? To go there. And there we go. That is it, ladies. Ladies and gentlemen. If we just secure our system, that may be the first legitimate craft of HOCgaming is to land on Moho. Can you believe it? Alright, let's do this. Let's try it. I'm confident. I think we can do this. Yeah, we've got the launch system, which we know can lift definitely the weight of all this. We know it definitely can lift the weight of all this, that's nowhere near 80 tons, into orbit. And in fact, we'll use the launch stage to give us a little more of a kick towards Moho. Seeing as, well, it's more delta V that we don't really want to waste, we might as well. I don't think I'm going to be too worried about space junk. I don't really care about leaving the occasional fuel tank in orbit, not in this universe. And then we have the something like 8,636 meters per second of delta V from our stage we have here, which should be plenty to get us into a Moho orbit, we hope. That's probably the crucial factor right now. That's the main thing I'm worried about. Making sure that works. And then our payload will undock from our pusher stage here. It will go down, land on Moho. Perhaps, if we're lucky, it will come back up, redock with this stage. Will we take the entire thing back? Depending on our fuel reserve, what our fuel looks like, we may take the entire thing back to Kerbal. And then, hey, we could reuse this part as well. We could refuel the entire thing. Because once we come back, then we'll have to build a refueler, and that shouldn't be too difficult. But yes, the still, as of yet nameless Mark 1, need to think of a name for that, is ready to fly once we check our staging and we sort out our action groups. This all looks correct. Nuclear engine goes there, and then we have 2 engines there. This should be good. This should be good. Okay, action groups. So, on custom 1, I want all of them to stop gimballing. That's all of them. Do we have... We have them, and we have them. But no, not the central one. The central one can stay gimballing, so we have some turn. That's fine. In custom 2, I'd like to have... do I need anything? No, nothing specific. No. Okay, I guess we'll just make custom 2 undock and decouple this node. And that's really all the action groups we need. I just hope now that we haven't overlooked something. I haven't uploaded the first episode yet, so, you know, there's a possibility that you guys have screamed in the comments about something I've missed, something terrible, but I shall not know until that thing is uploaded. Let's launch this, the as of yet nameless. Need to think of a name for it, for the project, that is something to do with going out and coming back. Something really generic. Something beautifully generic. Okay. We're on the launch pad. Let's do a test. Yeah, we should do a test first. We should really do an unmanned test, I suppose. But this is KSP. Actually, hell yeah, we should do an unmanned test. Yes, unmanned test first, because we haven't got any parachutes on this design, and I don't really want to slap any on just for the sake of a test. So we're going to get rid of this and this, and we're going to replace our actual people with robots. Robots. Remote guidance unit. Oh, that's a small one. We want a big one. There we go. just about there. And we can put on a big thing to make up for the size. How about this? There we go. And put that on there. And it didn't make up for the size, did it? Where are the struts? Where did the struts disappear to? Oh, I don't know. We won't save this design, this is just a test. Oh, oh dear. I've dropped my strut. I've dropped my strut, people. There to there. There we go. We should probably put a battery on there somewhere just so that, or a generator. There we go. Alright, and we'll test this unmanned. Let's launch. Hopefully they won't fill up that cockpit. I don't think it does. Oh, it does! Wait, do they fill up all the cockpits? Hang on. God damn it. They didn't used to. Is this a new thing? Is this a new thing that if you add on a cockpit that isn't the parent's cockpit, it will be filled? Or is it just the fact that we don't have a parent's cockpit, so the next cockpit in line is the one to be filled? Well, damn. Okay, we're going to have to separate them. Take that off. And we can put some probes on there as well. No, we can just... We'll just put some big thing in the way. It'll be fine. Just, there we go. That's a command pod. That is most certainly a command pod. There we go. Perfect. Beautiful. Okay. Please, can we get our test launch going? What was a fairly respectable craft now looks utterly ridiculous. Okay. With advanced CS on and turn off gimbal, we're going to launch and we're going to aim for orbit in 3, 2, 1, lift off. And there we go. So if we can get this thing into orbit safely without any mishaps, then we know we should be okay to go on to Moho from there. Because once you're in orbit, you're halfway to anywhere, as the saying goes. Oh, one final thing I should do. I should add tiny little ant engines to the bottom of those tanks. Yes, I'm going to do that. Why? It will provide hardly any thrust. No, that's not the reason. The reason is so that I don't have to right-click on the tanks to see when the fuel is going down. That idea was suggested by people many times over in the comment section, and it's a really good idea. So I'm going to use it. It's not copying, it's following advice. And this has emptied about now. See, this is why we do test flights. This is the reason. You know, for the hell of it, I want to put a really long tower on there. Just a really big thing with an antenna on top. It can detach later on. Just want to have something really tall and wobbly. No! No, we should focus on the actual mission, damn it. We don't have time for purely aesthetic amendments. We need to make it as likely to succeed as possible. That is the aim. 180 meters per second, 190 meters per second, 200 meters per second. We're going a bit fast for my liking because we don't have the mass. At least it's a comforting confirmation of that we have got a fairly light stage. Makes me wonder if it's too light. Do we have sufficient fuel? Those drop. And we carry on with our final pair. So far, nothing whatsoever has gone wrong. Should we just check that to make sure? Nope. Nothing's gone wrong. It's all going perfectly to plan. Which is nice. Not to be expected, seeing as it's the Kerbal space program, but it's nice, you know, it's nice all the same. 20 kilometers just makes me a bit more wary of things that may happen, because if nothing bad has happened yet, chances are something bad will happen in the future. 24 kilometers, coming up to 25 kilometers. And we're going 500 meters per second. I don't think I'm going to throttle down in the actual mission in order to try and conserve fuel, even though it's more efficient to not go so fast because drag increases with velocity, and so you start losing fuel trying to push against that. Despite that, I think we've got such a light payload that this launch stage is capable of taking it to where it needs to go and beyond, even with that loss of fuel. Okay, no, we're just pointing slightly underneath prograde. And we can take a look at our periapsis, or apoapsis at this point. I think it needs to be as low as possible, really. I'll say 80. That's kind of a safe area. It's a safe target to aim for. Okay, and now we have this massive stage which we can't tip, but we can because we have RCS. And we have quite a lot of RCS as well. I'm not going to be too afraid to use RCS. I'm not going to exploit it, I'm not going to use it for no reason, but we do have quite a lot of RCS available to us. And it certainly is a useful resource for turning massive ships. So I just want to put us into a position to prepare for the upcoming circularization burn. Oh, that's time acceleration. Oh yeah, of course there's physics warp because we're still inside the atmosphere. And now we're not. We've strayed off of the equatorial line. Come on, point us along the equator. We're coming up to our apoapsis. We'll want to burn maybe a minute beforehand. And we are, okay, we're about 40 seconds away. Okay, we'll say 30 seconds beforehand then. There we go. We'll start burning now. We want to maintain around 80 kilometer apoapsis. So we want to point around here. Oh, and we've lost our pairs. There we go. They can crash back down to Kerbin, not to plague anyone with any space debris. And we'll see how well this works. We definitely have the speed. Ah, there we go. This is why we do test flights. It's a good idea to put some struts between this stack and these tanks here. I need to do that. Remind me. Remind me to do that before we go for Moho. I can't believe we're actually going to go for Moho in this mission. Well, the numbers add up. The numbers say, if our information sources are correct, namely one random thread I found on the forums, if they are correct, we have the Delta V to do it. We have the power. We certainly have the power with these engines. But not the efficiency with the mainsails, not necessarily, which is why we're using our atomic rocket motors. And we are 22 minutes or so into the recording. And that is an orbit around Kerbin. 82 to 77. Doesn't really matter about being necessarily circular at this point, it's just a test. So what have we learnt from our test? We're not very good at turning things. Where's the centre of mass? You've got to wonder this at this point. Because the further away our thrusters are from the centre of mass, the more effective they are. Because angular velocity equals force times distance from the pivot, is that the one? There's some equation written on my physics classroom wall. It's something to do with that. So if you apply force further away from the distance of the pivot, further away from the pivot, which at this point is going to be the centre of mass, seeing as there's no friction anywhere, it's going to be the centre of mass, which I'm guessing is around here. If those are that's... Oh, whatever, it doesn't really matter, does it anyway? But yeah. So, what have we learned? We need to put struts from there to there, and there was one other thing. Wasn't there something else I should fix? Oh, damn it, why didn't I jot this down? Struts need to go from there to there. Surely that's the only thing. I think that is. We'll want to put lights on our payload. That's something we should do. I mean, we'll want to land in the daylight anyway, but even so, we should prepare for that eventuality. Okay. Let's do this. We can just make this thing crash. We don't need the parts. We don't need to scavenge them. This isn't a reusable space program. This is a dirty, let's go and do the mission, damn it, space program. And we have 15 minutes left this recording. So what will we achieve in 15 minutes, realistically? We'll get into orbit around Kerbin. We'll probably time warp to Moho, or to get Moho into the right inclination. We'll have to have a look at where that inclination is exactly. What the timing for our burn should be. And this has been deorbited successfully, okay. We'll just drop it on our enemies over there. Because, you know, anyone who doesn't live on our continent's an enemy, right? Ha, ha, ha. And we can end that flight because it's going to crash anyway. Go back to our VAB. And we are here with our ship. that we'll actually load again. As of yet, Nameless Mark 1, 121 parts, 6 stages, comprised of a launch stage, a pusher section, and a very skimpy payload. And it's going to be comprised of 3 more struts, as of now, connecting this tank to here. That should be 3. There we go. That should help things somewhat. And yeah, there wasn't anything else, was there? I can't remember. I'm a fool. Ah, there should have been. I'm pretty sure there was something I've forgotten. You guys, you know, I don't. I'm going to attempt this anyway. And oh, we'll have to put a battery on these. No, engines running make electricity, so I shouldn't have to. Ah, fuel coming out of those will damage the lights. Can we have them there? How much do these weigh? 0.015. Okay, I'm not worried about the mass, but I am worried about them clipping with the landing legs. There we go. That should be okay, shouldn't it? Yeah. Okay, that looks like our finished design. As of yet, Nameless Mark 1. Save and launch. Cleared launchpad and proceed. I can't believe we're flying the actual mission without naming the craft. Before we go to Moho, we should name it. So I may end this episode a bit earlier. Oh, actually, oh hey, we don't have 15 minutes left. We have 4 minutes left. Okay, that should be enough to time warp to Moho. Right. God, what was I doing? Overestimating things. Where is the Moho point? Okay, so we need to load up ksp.olex.biz, which isn't on my tab anymore. ksp.olex.biz, because this is the interactive illustrated interplanetary guide and calculator for KSP 0.19. So it hasn't been updated. But then again, the Moho of Juna hasn't changed either, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal, should it now? Okay, our origin is Kerbal orbit. We want to go to Moho with a parking orbit of 100 kilometers above surface level. Let's do the maths. And we need an ejection burn delta V of 1,696 meters per second, which would leave us with, if that's correct, because it might not be, depending on our orbital inclination change, that would leave us with, well, hey, that's roughly 1.5 kilometers per second, and we have roughly 8.5, so that would leave us with 7 kilometers per second, which should be enough to get us into orbit and bring us back, hopefully. But whereabouts do we need to start? Moho needs to be over 90 degrees ahead of us. Is it? Is it now? Hey, would you look at that? That is actual Moho inclination. That's roughly where it needs to be. Wow, that's lucky. Someone wants us to go to Moho. Wow, okay. Yeah. That is that's pretty much bang on the correct inclination. What about, no, correct position in orbit. Inclination wise, it's not quite so good, because we're going to be burning into an equatorial sun orbit, or bola. What's it called? Kerbol, so Kerbola orbit. And when we encounter it, it'll probably be around here. I don't know, we'll see, but I'm confident we can get an encounter off of that. I'm confident we can. And that is the end of the episode. Wow, okay, so we've come a great way. We're just about to launch for our Kerbal mission, or our Moho mission. We are just about to launch for our Moho mission. Can you believe it? Thank you very much, guys, for watching this episode, this second episode of To Every Planet and Back, or whatever I'm going to name the series, because I still haven't found a name for it. If you liked the video, please do like the video. If you want to see us actually go to Moho and come back successfully, please do name this shit for me, because I'm too unimaginative. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you all next time.